Studies have shown that you only need to be dehydrated by 1% to experience a 5% decline in cognitive function. So I've come up with 5 killer strategies to help me focus deeply this Ramadan whilst being fasted from both food and water for 16 hours straight. Keep watching to learn how I'm studying for 12 hours every single day as a final year PhD student at Oxford University this Ramadan. Now these aren't any old study sessions, but deep focused intentional study sessions when I'm not doing anything else but studying. When I tell you that I never had any particular skills or talents growing up, I really mean it. But one thing I excelled in as a child and into adulthood was studying. Learning to study effectively at medical school with ADHD, and that's why I decided to create this channel. I scored highly at medical school, scoring in the top 0.1% of graduate students at Oxford University, winning over 40 academic prizes and awards at medical school, securing over £100,000 in scholarships and grants, and was very fortunate to publish over 30 academic papers as an undergrad, including in the world's leading medical journals. And this all led me to secure a top clinical academic job at Cambridge University. It's a busy time as we head into the summer term, and it's so easy to feel overwhelmed by exams and deadlines this Ramadan because we're not at our 100%. Now that we've had a few days of Ramadan, I've had some time to optimize my 12-hour study approach for the remainder of this month. I hope to give you a realistic and real-life insight into my study routine this Ramadan and how you can make the most out of it too. As a caveat, I'm not going to be talking about soft strategies like making sure you're hydrated and sleeping enough. These are all intuitive, and I'm going to assume you're doing all of these things. Instead, I'm going to go into the 5 high-yield strategies that I'm using to focus and study effectively this Ramadan, 12 hours a day, every single day. On this channel, I share realistic lessons that I've learned to focus and study optimally with ADHD. So keep watching and subscribe for more. Let's get into it. 1. Get your study routine in order. It's really important to think long and hard about your study plan for this Ramadan and find what works for you. I'm a full-time PhD student, which is really very different to where I was last year when I was working as a full-time junior doctor, working 60-hour weeks. And as a PhD student whose PhD is entirely computational in nature, I benefit from being able to work remotely, working whatever hours I want, so long as I get my thesis submitted. I don't have any wet lab experiments, so I don't have to actually go into the office if I don't want to, as long as I can access my server remotely. Now the reason I'm telling you this is because I want you to really think about your own circumstances. Maybe you're a medical student and expected to turn up to placement every day, or maybe you're a history student and have relatively few contact hours, or maybe you're essentially done with lectures and now have to just prepare for your summer exams with 0 teaching hours. Any good study plan, one that you'll actually stick to, has to work around your schedule. There's 3 fundamentals to a good study routine in or outside of Ramadan, which I've touched on in some detail on my channel. The most important thing is to have a consistent sleep-wake cycle. Try to sleep and wake up the same time every day and make sure you get enough of it. The second is to find when you're most productive and least productive in the day, and to place your study hours around your prayer and Quran and not the other way around. And the third is to have a consistent switch off period from work to make sure you're able to focus when you need to. I've been iterating and working on my Ramadan study timetable over the past few weeks, and it's required me to have a certain level of flexibility. Because my PhD work is very self-directed, I can wake up and sleep whatever time I want. Now I can't wake up at 5 AM anymore during Ramadan as I'll have missed Sahur, so the same approach I've been using for term time can't really work for Ramadan. And this was an important step for me to appreciate. I have to be flexible, and you might also have to be flexible with your routine. With this in mind, I've been able to develop my study routine to allow me to wake up and sleep at the same time every day, whilst also getting my evening and morning meals in, allowing me to work my studying around my prayer, and importantly, making sure I'm getting enough rest after each study session. Every day I sleep at 6:30 AM and wake up at 1 PM, which is 6.5 hours of sleep. I found the best study setup for me is to split my study day into 3 separate study blocks. My strategy this Ramadan relies on time blocking to get my 12 hours of studying done. My first 5.5 hours of studying in the afternoon is a relatively light workload, tasks that I'm going to enjoy. Generally, I won't be writing my PhD thesis or performing complicated analyses during these times, as that's more cognitively demanding, and these more strenuous tasks I'll do after I've broken my fast. My second study block is 4.5 hours long, or 9 Pomodoro sessions, and during this block I'm doing my heaviest and most demanding work, such as script writing and analyses, and writing up results for my PhD thesis. The third and final study block is after eating suhoor, and during this I'll do my final 2 hours of work before sleeping. I'm currently sleeping around 6.5 hours each night, and I've been trying to supplement this with a nap before iftar. This has been working really well for me the past few days, so in total out of my 24-hour day, I'll spend 6.5 hours sleeping, 5.5 hours praying or relaxing, eating or spending time with family, and the remaining 12 hours I'll be studying. Now I can survive on 6.5 hours or less of sleep during Ramadan, but maybe this won't work for you. You'll have to figure out what works for you, but bear in mind my 3 principles. 2. Being mindful of your eating habits. The food industry has spent billions convincing us that breakfast is the most important meal of the day and that we can't go hungry. It's important to stay hydrated, but with food, overeating can be destructive. Generally, I'm the least productive after I eat meals. It's why I do intermittent fasting even outside of Ramadan and skip breakfast, and importantly, why I have dinner early between 5:30 and 6 p.m. every evening. I've learned that I'm the least productive the hour after I've had my dinner. I get bloated and start to feel lazy. By 6:30 p.m. and definitely by 7 p.m. I'm ready to get back into work and spend a large chunk of my evening doing work before getting ready to sleep. During Ramadan, I've really had a long, hard think, and my conclusions haven't changed at all. It's even more important to make sure you really watch your portions and don't overeat. In past Ramadans, I'd end up eating too much at iftar and then get a postprandial coma and just not be able to do any work at all. So try to avoid overeating during iftar and instead try to have another small meal in between iftar and suhoor, and make sure you're getting enough water. A great way to stop yourself overeating during Ramadan is to drink a lot of water before eating a big meal. That way you won't be able to eat as much. If you're feeling bloated, then a stand-up desk definitely helps. I found my gut is a lot more efficient and able to digest food when I'm standing. So try to combat the post-food slump by eating smaller meals during Ramadan and to use a stand-up desk. 3. Limit your screen time. What's really scary is that this month, which we've all been looking forward to for the whole year, is passing by so quickly, right in front of our very eyes. To really make the most out of Ramadan and to study optimally, it's very important to really watch your screen time and cut down on social media. If you can't do it for the whole year, then at least try to do this for Ramadan. Willpower is a very limited resource, so it's doubly important to not trust yourself and put in place a few strategies to stop yourself aimlessly scrolling on social media. And what's also helped me massively with my Ramadan study routine has been buying this thing. It's the iDisk phone locker, which I've been using to help me totally cut out using my phone during studying, except if there's an emergency. The iDisk phone locker allows me to lock my phone away with a preset timer, and during this time I'm not able to use my phone for anything other than to make emergency calls and to change what I'm listening to on Spotify. It's just a massive relief not having to worry about aimlessly using my phone out of sight, out of mind. Just so you know, the locker doesn't notify you when the timer's up, so it's easy to study more than you want to in any particular Pomodoro. So just be careful to have another timer going on the side so you don't go into the next Pomodoro. It's very easy to get distracted with what's going on social media. If you can't be as hardline as me, then try locking your phone away. I'll include a link in the description if you wanted to buy this particular phone locker from Amazon, which I can't recommend enough. I'll make a proper video soon reviewing its use for anyone who has ADHD, so keep a lookout for it. 4. Optimize your study music. With ADHD, I find I'm very easily distracted, and this is even more the case during my first study block, when I'm the most starved and irritable. I have to listen to instrumentals or white noise to help me study and focus with intensity. It also helps to keep my time blindness in check because I know roughly how long each song is, and it helps me measure time better during my Pomodoros. During Ramadan, I'm of course not able to engage in as much prayer and Quran as someone who isn't a final year PhD student at Oxford University and who hasn't got to study 12 hours a day at minimum. Accepting this has been huge in me trying to find fulfillment this Ramadan. A great way I found to engage in worship even while studying is to set my intentions straight. Even studying can be worship. It's all about how you look at it. For me, my intentions are to become the best academic doctor I can, and by completing this PhD at Oxford, I know it will help me make a greater impact in my field and to benefit my patients, which in and of itself is only to worship Allah. Alongside setting my intentions clear for each of my 3 study blocks, I've replaced all music and instrumentals with Quran or Nasheed. I mean, this is probably a very small act of worship, but it's helped me engage in worship nonetheless alongside my studying. If you can't read the Quran, my logic is surely surely listening to it will count towards some good deeds. If you do have Spotify, then I can't recommend these two playlists enough, which are regularly updated and they're great alternatives to music this Ramadan. I'll include a link in the description so you can follow and download the playlist on your phone. If you don't have Spotify, then just finding YouTube videos of Quran recitation or creating a playlist and looping it should do just as well. Listening to motivating Quran verses or nasheeds and instrumentals has massively helped me focus during Ramadan and to make the most out of the 12 hours of studying I'm doing every single day. 5. Using the tortoise technique when you need to. We all know from nursery the story of the hare and the rabbit. During Ramadan, I'm finding some study blocks can be a grind to get through and I can be quite lethargic and irritable. One of the biggest things that's been helping me get through my study sessions with great intensity and focus and almost zero distractions has been using the Pomodoro technique and occasionally the tortoise technique when I need to. At 25 minutes, no matter what, I'm taking a break for 5 minutes and doing something else to help me focus. Losing the equivalent of 10 minutes for every 50 minutes of deep focus studying is a small price to pay. It means that I'm able to study with intensity when I do. Small, frequent efforts are what's important during Ramadan. It's a month of endurance and taking a few minutes break will help you feel rejuvenated and ready to work. It also means that when your focus is nosediving, you know you have a break right around the corner and can push on for that little bit longer. Over the past few fasts, I've been iterating my 12-hour study routine and I've really put in place some strategies that are really helping me with making it easier to keep my routine up. Studying intensely during Ramadan doesn't have to be a chore and doesn't have to rely on discipline and sheer willpower. It's important to be aware that you're not at your 100%. Irritability and inability to focus is a common symptom of hypoglycemia. You have to enjoy the process of studying and have the right intentions whilst doing so more than anything during Ramadan. Moving forward is what's important. As you study more and focus, your movement will generate further movement and before you know it, you'll be able to bash out 12-hour studies days. Well, that's 5 of my best strategies that I'm using to help me study optimally and with deep focus for 12 hours daily this Ramadan and enjoying myself whilst doing it. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, let me know in the comment section below what you learned and like this video and subscribe to my channel to stay up to date with more videos on the systems, frameworks and gadgets that I use every single day at Oxford University to help me study effectively. Thanks for watching and I'll see you next week.